Dear friends, welcome to the next session for software engineering and designing concepts. In the previous session, we talked about requirement specification and analysis phase, and in the introductory part, we discussed that there were two different components which constitute the entire phase. The first is the requirement gathering and analysis, and the second part is the requirement specification. So essentially today we will move ahead with the more detailed discussion related to this phase and also talk about software requirement specification, which forms an in-depth part of this particular phase. So we already discussed about SRS or software requirement specification, an overview in our previous session. Today we will be looking at the organization of the software requirement specification document. So as you know, we have discussed that the SRS basically constitute of the various functional, non-functional and goals of implementation. So functional requirements relates to those requirements in which the various activities can be represented in terms of a function, and a function essentially should have an input, the processing unit and the output. So the function is any particular piece of activity or piece of process which will be taking in certain input and giving us the output. Now non-functional requirements are those requirements essentially which relates to those particular components of the software project or of the product which cannot be expressed in terms of a function. And goals of implementation is important from the perspective that it looks towards the environmental and the impact of environment on the project or the project's impact on the environment. Reliability, robustness, etc. falls under the goals of implementation. So basically your software requirement specification document or SRS should initially begin with an introduction where a few lines should be written about the entire project that needs to be developed, followed by the functional requirements where we will be listing down all the requirements in a modular fashion and also numbering them according to their hierarchy of occurrence. So once we list down the functional requirements, we will in detail show what each of the requirement holds. The third is the non-functional requirements where external interface requirements and performance related requirements are listed, and finally goals of implementation will sum up the entire SRS and give a complete form to the mentioned document. Now let's take the example for a SRS document. The SRS document initially has to first begin with the title, because without title we cannot identify what is the name of that particular project or what project are we doing. So here as point number 1 is mentioned, so the title is there, which is basically a library management system. After that the organization starts where the introduction comes in the very first part, and you have to write a few lines about the software that is going to be developed. In the point 3 it is mentioned as requirements, which constitute of functional requirements essentially with proper numbering. Now this is an extremely important concept because this numbering will be related to which requirement are we basically taking care of, or which requirement we are talking about. So first requirement 1. So the numbering is already given, as you can see, requirement 1, and once the user selects, the requirement 1 states that once the user selects the search option, he is asked to enter the keywords. Now when you look into this first point, so what is the fact that it is getting to us, that we have to press the search button, and when we have to press the search option or click onto the search option, we will be asked to enter the keywords. Now these keywords will be the input to the system. So the system should output details of all books whose title or author name matches any of the keywords that is entered. So here the keywords essentially would be the input, and input would be the author name, and output, as already mentioned, that in functional requirements we have to consider the input, output, and the processing. So here the processing is the search option, and and the input is basically the author name, and the output will be the details of books whose title or author name matches any of the keywords which is entered. So details will be also included here, which will mention title, author name, publisher's name, year of publication, ISBN number, catalog number, location in the library, etc. So the first one is to search for a particular author's books. Now moving ahead to the next requirement. Here the next requirement states that when the renew option is selected, the user is asked to enter his membership number and password. So the membership number and password will be the input, and after password validation, which is the process that is implemented over the input, the list of books borrowed by him are displayed. So the list of books that are borrowed by him serves as the output of this particular function. The user can renew any of the books by clicking in the corresponding renew box. So these are basically the requirements. So requirement 2, it has two different requirements. One is first to display the list of books that are borrowed by him, and secondly is to renew the books that he has already borrowed. So both of them are two different requirements. So let's call them as 2.1 and 2.2. So 2.1 is essentially this, and 2.2 is this. So these two are two different requirements. So moving ahead, in the fourth point, we have to mention the requirement details. So we have already listed down the requirement. Now we have to list down the details of those requirements. So here, in fact, in requirement 1, we have kept that particular requirement as searching the book by the author name. So here requirement in the requirement R1, we have marked the first module as R.1.1, where input is the search option and output is the user prompted to enter the keywords. So this is a separate requirement, where in order to get a service from the system, the user has to click onto the search option. So clicking onto the search option, that click itself is an input. Search is the processing, and output would be a pop-up where you will be asked to enter the keyword. That might be either the author name or any other such parameter that you want to select the books from. In requirement R.1.2, the input will be basically the keywords that is generated by the first module or the first requirement of the requirement 1. So initially you have a search option. So here the input will be the click into this search option, and the output will be the prompt where you will be asked to enter the keyword. So once you have completed with this particular phase, you will move to the next part, which is R.1.2, where the next part is, this part is basically not there, and you will be asked to enter the keywords to it. So you will be entering the keywords, and after entering the keywords into this prompt which was generated by this particular search option, so the output we will be getting is this particular list. So the output will be the details of all the books whose title or author name matches any one of the keywords. The details would include title, author name, publisher's name, year of publication, ISBN number, catalog number, location in the library, etc. And there is also a processing state which is search the book list for the keywords. Now this processing state we have mentioned explicitly here because the search itself is a huge function that is incorporated. That means it requires a number of algorithms running behind this particular function. However, in my first requirement, which is R.1.1, we have not shown the processing part because it is a responsive type of output is that we are getting, and it involves no or minimum processing. So moving ahead to requirement 2. Now as already mentioned, requirement 2 can also be broken down into several options. The first option essentially will be to renew the option. So similarly, as we have seen in the previous requirement R.1.1, you have to first click onto the renew option. So once you click onto the renew option or the renew button is clicked, so for requirement R.2.1, the click itself is an input to the renew option, and the output will basically be a prompt to enter your, let's put this in a shaded form, and basically this output will be a prompt to enter your membership number and password, and this ending point of your R.2.1 will serve as the starting point of R.2.2, where you have to mention your ID and password, membership number and password as the input to the prompt that has been generated by the R.2.1, and the output will be the list of options or list of books that is borrowed by the author. Now user is also prompted to enter the books to be renewed, or user is informed about bad password. So the output will either be a no access permission to the system, or it will give you the list of books that you have borrowed. So the third one was, I have now received the list of books that has been borrowed by me. Now I want to renew those list of books. So the last point of R.2.2 will not serve as the starting point of R.2.3. Instead, the input will be a user choice for renewal of books issued to him through mouse clicks in the corresponding renew box. So there will be a box which is known as the renew box, and here we have to give an input that is a click or a choice made by clicking into that renewal box, and output will be the confirmation that you can renew those books. The processing involves renewing the books selected by the user in the borrower list. So this renew option is basically constituted of these three different parameter or three different additional functions or modular functions. Initially, to choose the renew option, next point is to display the list of borrowed books after the user provides his membership number and password, and the third is to renew the list of books that has already been borrowed. So these three will totally comprise of the renew option requirement. That is our requirement 2. Now it is not that whatever it is mentioned in this slide, only that much is available in that particular SRS. It is up to the user, the customer and the developer as to how many more modular form or how many more functional breakdown of this particular process can be made. So it can be described to an extent of very minute function, after which it cannot be broken down into further sub functions, or the developer and or the customer might be happy with whatever is shown in this slide. So it is entirely up to the customer and the developer to sort things out before it goes for actual implementation. The fifth point is already mentioned. It consists of non-functional requirements, which include parameters that cannot be expressed in functions. For example, what is the performance of the system, what is the performance of the algorithm, the space complexity, the robustness, the network dependency, etc. So all those will be mentioned in the non-functional requirements. So the non-functional requirement category will take care of all the parameters which cannot be expressed as functions or cannot be expressed as input, process and output form. The sixth and the last point of SRS is the goal of implementation. So the goal of implementation essentially will deal with all the environmental parameters which can be implemented or which requires to be implemented while the software is being installed at any system. So goals of implementation will depend upon reliability and performance issues of the software product in context with other existing softwares and hardware components in the system. So then what parameters decides this SRS, or what parameters decides that the SRS is not good or it is a bad SRS document? The first point is if the SRS has unstructured specification. That means if it has long written material, that means narrative essays without any proper specifications, numbering, indentation, etc., it turns out to be very difficult to change, because identification of bugs and identification of changes becomes difficult when you write things in long paragraphs. Moreover, it becomes difficult to be precise because already a long form of that particular activity has been or requirement has been written. So shortening it up might be missing out on some of the information. And it also needs to be unambiguous, which means that it does not have any contradictory statements, and there should be no scope for contradictions, etc. So all these components basically form the unstructured specification. Firstly, if it cannot be changed. Secondly, if it cannot be precise. Thirdly, if it is difficult to be unambiguous or it is ambiguous in nature. And thirdly, if it does not have or if it has scope for contradictions. So then we call this document as an unstructured, or the specification to be unstructured specification. And it is one of the most important point by which we can judge a particular SRS to be a bad SRS. The next point is noise, presence of text containing information irrelevant to the problem. So if we have a lot of information in that SRS, essentially we need to put more focus on what are the essential components of the written material in context to the project. Writing elongated or additional information which might make no sense to the project development is known as noise, and having noise leads to a bad SRS. The third point is silence. Silence also relates, it is slightly opposite to noise, where aspects which are important to proper solution of the problem are omitted and we do not focus on the primary points in order to implement those particular features in our project. So we need to put more focus on the important points, and we have to remove those points which are redundant or additional and makes no sense to the developed project. The next is overspecification. Overspecification addresses how to aspects. As already mentioned previously, generally SRS deals with what are the requirements of the customer and what are the technology or what are the parameters by which we will be able to implement that particular project. Now, if we are addressing how to aspects in the SRS document, it leads to a bad document or bad SRS document. For example, library member name should be stored in a sorted descending order. Overspecification restricts the solution space for the designer. Now, when we are talking about a library, the library member names should be stored in a sorted descending order. Now, this is not required basically. Whether you just need to store it, and when you need to sort it, we can use it by some other mechanism, but we do not need to sort them already. We do not need to store them already in a sorted descending order. So if we go ahead with those kind of specification which are not very much relevant to the project, then it is an overspecified document. It also restricts the solution space for the designer. Now, since we have already incorporated in the example that sorted descending order, so it leaves no room for improvement, or leaves no room for the developer to use new creativity in identifying the library member names. The next is contradictions. There might be various contradictions which might arise, and it should not be described in several places in different ways. It should be mentioned, however, in one particular place in the SRS and should not be repeated or over and over again in various parts of the SRS document. So all these points collectively will form a bad SRS document. Moreover, ambiguity, forward references, wishful thinking, these three are the indirect parameters which might lead to a bad SRS. For example, in ambiguity, unquantifiable aspects. Example, a good user interface will play a vital role in creating a confusion between the customer and the developer. So according to the developer, a good user interface will be having a complicated design. However, for a customer, a good user interface might be an interface having a simple layout or with simple features. So this is an ambiguous situation, and having such kind of ambiguity will lead to a bad SRS. However, these ambiguities are already resolved at the point of discussion and with the customer. So hence it does not impact directly in constitution of a bad SRS because these things are already solved. Forward references, similarly, it gives references to aspects of the problem and defined only later or in the text. So these kind of references might be to address future problems that might be associated if you scale up your project, or if the customer decides to extend the project or incorporate more features into the project. Now, before incorporating more features, the initial product or project has to be delivered first to the customer, and hence this point also will prove as an indirect influence for a bad SRS document. And the third one is wishful thinking. Wishful thinking pertains to descriptions of aspects for which realistic solutions will be hard to find. Now it might be so that while discussion the customer comes up with a very absurd feature or a feature that cannot be implemented. However, the customer is fully confident that he needs that particular feature, and even on discussion the matter does not get solved. So under those circumstances, the developers will go ahead with implementing them or mentioning them in the SRS. However, generally these things will not come directly into picture, because all these three different points will be discussed with the customer before the developer actually jots it down in his SRS. So that is all for today. Thank you.